I would like to express my thanks to the organisers for inviting me to speak at this symposium on common prosperity. I think in time, common prosperity will come to be regarded as one of China's most important initiatives since the beginning of the reform period. In these brief remarks, I want to make 4 points. First, inequality has grown dramatically since 1978, when the Gini coefficient was just 0.28. Today, it is 0.47, slightly higher than in the United States. Such a rise in inequality was inevitable. Bereft of resources, China had no alternative but to concentrate what little it had in those parts of the country, namely the south and then the east, where the prospects for growth were greatest. Inevitably, this led to great regional inequality, with central and western China much less developed than the south and east. China's primary focus in this period has been the abolition of extreme poverty, which it finally succeeded in doing in 2020. Now, the great task is to address inequality. This is the key to creating a more balanced modernization, providing the conditions for political and social stability, and ensuring the unity of the country. The threat posed by inequality to unity and stability should never be underestimated. Second, there are no quick fixes. Building a fairer society is a long-term project that will require enormous patience, persistence, and creativity. We are not talking about an egalitarian society, but rather one which is much fairer and more inclusive. Income and wealth are central to inequality, but there are many different causes and drivers of inequality. It finds expression in many different areas of society, ultimately in virtually all. It shapes society in 1,001 different ways. One of the things that I have found most impressive in the last few months is a recognition of this fact. Private tuition and private schools, for example, as key drivers of inequality. The tech sector as the source of a new and very acute form of inequality. One of the most harmful effects of inequality is the way that it segments society. Those who are poor can find themselves on the edge or even outside society. That was why the poverty campaign was so important. Meanwhile, the super rich, be they in the tech sector or entertainment, for example, can become increasingly detached and living in a separate world from the great majority. That is why the emphasis on the rich contributing in fundamental ways to society is so important. Third, common prosperity involves and requires a major shift in social and cultural values. Deng Xiaoping's genius was to understand the need for Chinese socialism to embrace both the state and the market, thereby to encourage society to become entrepreneurial, to urge every individual to be a risk taker, to believe in the possibility of becoming rich. In consequence, the values of society shifted. Being rich came to endow great status. Inequality was regarded as necessary and even encouraged. That era is now over. A new balance and harmony is required. China is moving to a new stage of modernization that will involve a significant shift in values, with a stronger emphasis on fairness, equity, inclusivity, and social provision. Fourth, the challenge of inequality is far from being China's alone. Inequality has been growing apace in the West since 1980, in its most extreme form in the United States, under the combined impact of neoliberalism, globalization, and latterly technology. It is a global problem. But there is a fundamental difference between China and the West. There are powerful vested interests in the US and in other Western countries like the UK that are resisting the growing pressure to address the chronic and debilitating problem of inequality. As a result, very little so far has been achieved. There is talk and rhetoric, but precious little action. China, with its Common Prosperity Initiative, is becoming the global leader in the fight against inequality. This will be of enormous importance. China has been the leader in economic development ever since 1978. In its fight against COVID-19, it has set a singular example to the world in the sheer competence of its governance. And with common prosperity, it can show the world how society can be more equal, fairer, and more inclusive, a new kind of society for the 21st century. Thank you very much.